I wish I knew exactly why we have such levels of violence, and it is different in Scotland. You know, we have, I mean, there is obviously a big link to areas where, you know, deprivation is prevalent, and lots of the things that we associate with violence are things like, you know, poor parenting, you know, lack of skills to get through life, empathy, communication, problem solving, all the things that you and I have. You know, that if we have a disagreement, we can discuss it with each other, we can work out a way to sort of resolve our differences. But if you've not been taught empathy, you know, the reason, I mean, I love your ring, but I would never take it from you because it's yours and I have empathy. You know, but for lots of young people being brought up, they're not given empathy. They've been brought up in violent homes, domestic abuse. You know, all they've seen is violence. Mm-hmm. So that's the way they think they can resolve their problems. And there's a bit of lack of investment there and lack of hope. I mean, I deal with lots of young people who have no hope in their life. You know, I go into prisons and I'll say to them, what did you want to be when you were 5 or 6? And they'll say, well, I didn't want to be anything because I was told I'd be just like my dad, who was in jail. You know, that no hope. And I find that really difficult. I think every child has to be given hope, because if you don't have hope, you have nothing. Mm-hmm. So it's hugely complex. And when we talk about, I mean, I think our understanding is really developing, because when we started, we were looking at all the, you know, the causes of crime and, you know, and all the things that, you know, housing and lack of employment and parenting and alcohol and drugs and all these different things. And then we had the chief medical officer came along and he started to talk about hopelessness and alienation, and about how living a life of stress. I mean, if you think about living a life of stress in an area where there's lots of violence, or you live in a violent household, you'll go home and you'll not know whether you're going to get hit, or there's going to be food in the house, or you're going to be looked after. You start to secrete a hormone, and you know, and it's a stress hormone. And actually, what Harry Burns is now talking about is that actually long-term exposure to that can make you chronically unwell. It can completely affect you physiologically. It allows fat deposits to be laid down the arteries, and he thinks that that's now the reason, one of the reasons why we suffer such poor health. You know, heart disease, strokes. So isn't it interesting that violence leads to strokes and heart disease and long-term ill health in later life? And I think that's fascinating.